Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. Today we got our football history lesson. And today we're going to highlight the 1972 Miami Dolphins, the only team that's gone through the regular season undefeated, 17-0. And then a lot of people at the top of their list, the best team of all of pro football history. So if you like the video today, please come in and share. We surely appreciate it here at 100 Yards of Football. I'd like to give special thanks to my producer this morning, Mr. Jeremiah Long, for making it happen. To the team of 100 Yards of Football, Mr. Logan Landis, thank you. Mr. Bobby Butler, thank you. Mr. Ronnie Keebler, thank you. And of course, to all our beautiful guests that's joined us this year and years past. And I'm your host, Vincent Turner. So let me start with the 1972 Miami Dolphins. You think about Miami, you think about the glitter, South Beach, the TV show Miami Vice, Sonny Crockett, Mr. Tubbs, Detective Castillo. But let's go all the way back to 72, the Dolphins. In my first recollection of the Miami Dolphins, I'm going to tell you it happened Christmas Day, 1971. They was playing the Kansas City Chiefs in a wild card playoff game. And then everybody knew about the Kansas City Chiefs back then because they was coming off winning the Super Bowl in 1970. That great team, they had Lenny Dawson, Otis Taylor, Willie Lanier, Bobby Bell, Mike Garrett. And that team at that time was football in the AFC and all throughout the National Football League. But the Miami Dolphins sprung that upset, 27-24. And to this day, that's the longest game in playoff history. They played 83 minutes. And watching that football game, trust me, at 12 years old, I didn't know nothing about the Miami Dolphins. But coming out of that game, I said, you know what? I know they had a very good coach, Don Shula, who had took the Baltimore Colts to the Super Bowl against the New York Jets in Super Bowl III. But it was something special about that Miami Dolphins team. And they beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas Day. And from that standpoint, they had a great 2-year run. But what made the 1972 Miami Dolphins so special that year is that they played basic football back then. Running the football, playing defense. Running the football, playing the defense. And they had, let me say, 2 quarterbacks that season. All they did was manage the game. And one other important point about the Miami Dolphins that year is that they were very strong on the line of scrimmage. And then another thing was their quarterbacks, Bob Grease and Earl Morrall, they played error-free football. Get to the running game. The offensive line, 2 Hall of Famers, Larry Little and Jim Langler. Outstanding. Norm Evans, outstanding. Bob Kuchenberg out of Notre Dame University, outstanding. And the 72 Dolphins had 2,000-yard rushes that year. The first in NFL history. The young man out of Syracuse, Larry Zonka, had over 1,117 yards, and Mercury Morris had over 1,003 yards that season. And the Dolphins, all they did, pound the football, run the football. A lot of times people back then called it a cloud of dust. But what really outstanding offensive line, them running the football, that really doesn't get a lot of credit to this day is that the Dolphins had a very good defense, the no-name defense. And I guarantee you today can nobody in a football lore name anybody who was on that defense. And the one key statistic about that defense that year, the Dolphins played 220 minutes of football. They spent 122 minutes and 51 seconds only behind. The defense was at another level. It was well coached, well disciplined, and most of all, they didn't make no mistakes. The no-name defense, to me, that was the key of the Miami Dolphins. And think about this. In the Super Bowl against the Washington Redskins, technically they shut out the Washington Redskins. It should have been 17-0. But remember, Gary Upremian had that golf when the field goal was blocked and just threw the ball up Mike Bass, and the Washington Redskins took it 47 yards. But to me, it was the defense. They came to play night in, night out, night in, night out. the no-name defense. And those players are still not remembered to this day. We talk about the great defenses. We talk about the 85 Bears. We talk about the great defenses of Steel Curtain, the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 70s. We talk about even the Baltimore Ravens of the 2000s, that Ray Lewis season. But nobody talk about the undefeated Miami Dolphins no-name defense. Nick Monicani, outstanding. Manny Fernandez, one of the greatest defensive tackles that played this game. Should have been the MVP in the Super Bowl against the Washington Redskins. Had 17 tackles from the defensive line position. Then you had Jake Scott, All-American, Go Dogs. You had Dick Anderson, Colorado Buffalo's finest, Dion. Then you had Doug Swift. Then you had Tim Foley, Tulane. Then you had Curtis Johnson playing the other corner with the big afro. And then you had Vern Dan Herner. That's where the Miami Dolphins were a team. And it was the reason they went 17-0 that year. And one other major point that don't never get brought up. Everybody talk about the Bob Greasy injury, but the guy that really held the fort that should gets a lot of credit is Earl Morrow, Michigan State. Spotty. And think about this. Super Bowl III against the New York Jets when he was at the Baltimore Colts. He was a starting quarterback and didn't have a great game and took a lot of blame from that football game. But you know what? He was the main clog of the Miami Dolphins continue on to their 17-0 season. 83 of 150 that year. 1,360 yards. 11 touchdowns. 7 INTs. But you know what? He was able to manage the team. And the team gained a lot of respect for Earl Morrow. Outstanding football team that year. And Earl Morrow, I don't know a lot. It's just my personal opinion. Him and the no-name defense was the reason that the Miami Dolphins went 17-0 that year. Outstanding football team that doesn't get a lot of love. But when you look at it, and we look at all the great football teams of this past history, past and present, there's only one team that's went undefeated during the regular season. And it's down there in South Beach, the city of glitz. Miami Vice. Tonight. Phil Collins. The Miami Dolphins, baby. So if you liked the video today, please come in and share it. I surely appreciate hearing 100 Yards Football. Special thanks once again to my producer, Mr. Jeremiah Long. I consider him the best in the world. I would not be where I'm at. To the team on 100 Yards Football, thank you, Mr. Logan Landers. Thank you, Mr. Bobby Butler. Thank you, Mr. Ronnie Keebler. And thank you, Mr. Mark Denham, a.k.a. Mark Bass. So, enjoy the rest of the week. My final words about the Miami Dolphins. South Beach, Miami Vice, 17-0.